Today I want to show you how I use Lightroom as an editing tool to edit my photos. The particular photo that I want to edit today is the headshot of a giraffe, and I want to change this from a normal photo to a high-key photo. If that sounds like something you would enjoy, stick around. Alright, so as I mentioned, the photo that I want to edit is a photo that we took one early morning in the Sabi Sands. It was, as we left the lodge, literally around the first corner, there was this beautiful giraffe looking at us. Only for a few seconds before it moved on eventually. But what I wanted to do, because I only had my big lens on at the moment, 150 to 600, I realized that I won't be able to frame the whole body of the giraffe, so I zoomed in quite close to its face and got a portrait shot of its face. And I actually missed an opportunity in camera here. I underexposed to try and keep detail where I should have actually overexposed to turn this into a high-key image out in the field. Luckily, we can use Lightroom as an editing tool to sort of fix that later. And I'm going to take you on a journey with me how to do exactly that. For those of you that might not know what a high-key image is, it's where you deliberately wash out the background, sort of to make it completely white, and then so that your subject pops out in the front of your image. It normally works quite well with dark animals, things like hippos or elephants. In this scenario, I did it with a giraffe, which I feel it also can work with pretty well. So the image that I'm talking about is this one. So as you can see, pretty much of a nothing shot. It's literally just the face of a giraffe, a photo of a face of a giraffe, and in the background there's some distracting green trees. And as you can see with the background, it was pretty overcast this morning. So again, I missed that opportunity to do the high key out in the field. But now let's see what we can do with post-production. And again, this is to motivate people to actually use Lightroom as an editing tool. I had on a recent trip that I did to the Masai Mara, a guest and I had this conversation about high-key images or low-key images, and he particularly mentioned that he doesn't necessarily like it because it feels like it's not what he saw out in the field. And I get that and I understand that. But for me personally, like this photo I can't use for anything because there's distracting elements in the background, and yeah, it's just not particularly a great photo. It's not something that I would hang up on my wall, if that makes sense. But turning this into a high-key image, you might actually be able to then use this photo. So there's a place for a high-key images, but like I said, not everybody loves that kind of style. I just like to always think, okay, how can I use this image if I ever want to use it in the future? Not to say that I will, but I just wanted to give the image the sort of best chance that it deserves. All right, so let's hop on to the editing of this image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press D for the to take me to the development tool or to the actual editing of this image in Lightroom. And the first thing that I'll do is I'll mask the subject. So I'll go to the top here and go to masking, and I will select the subject. Now, as we all know, Lightroom uses AI a lot. And in this particular scenario, I'm going to try and see if the AI can detect the subject. It should do it pretty easily because the subject is sort of the main focus. It's the biggest thing in the frame. So in this scenario, it should be easy. So let's see how it works. There we go. Like we said, pretty spot on. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually invert this because I'm going to leave the giraffe for now and focus on the background. Remember, we said we want to try and convert this to a high-key image, so I need to wash out deliberately all of the background here. So I'm going to take out the overlay for you so that you can actually see what I'm doing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my exposure. So remember I said I missed out the opportunity in the field by I actually underexposed, where I should have overexposed this image, but now I can go and overexpose the background. So there we go. I overexposed it all the way, so +4. That's a lot. But again, so this is not typically something you do except if you want to create a high-key image like this. And now there's the distracting element in the back here. It's even more pronounced now, those trees. So you can now do one or two things. You can either brush this out and still do it with the 4 exposure, or you can actually just dehaze it. So let me stop this. I'm going to say that I want to add a brush. Okay, it's a pretty big brush. I don't need such a big brush. There we go. And then I'm just going to go down to dehaze and dehaze this quite a bit. Let's literally color it in. Let me put my overlay on so you can see what I'm doing. Like that. All the way, color it in nicely like that. And you'll see if I take the overlay off, look, it's all gone. But make sure that you get all the spots. Like I can still see some green there, which I don't like. I even see a bit of green down here on the bottom. Can you also see the green there? Let me get that out as well. Alright. Well, there we go. So I like that. So let's see carefully now. Do you agree that the picture is mostly white now? So I was just checking to see if my brightness is set to its highest, because that's important to do. You want to get a true reflection of the colors in your picture. Okay, so I like that. I think that's pretty good. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to again select my subject, which will be the giraffe, and just work a touch on this one, even though we're going to change it quite a lot. I just want to make it slightly brighter, so I'm going to lift up my white, and then I'm going to bring it back down with my blacks again. But obviously I don't want this giraffe to be dark, so I can see a bit of shadow there and here, so I'm just going to lift the shadow slightly as well, to something like that. And while we've got the subject selected here, I just want to touch on the texture, but not much. Like, people often go too much, but see, that almost now looks fake. People think it makes their image look more sharp, but it actually looks a bit more like noise to me. So I want to be very, very sensitive with that. Clarity also very subtle, so I literally just did a clarity of 3. Okay, something like that. Now there's one of two things you can do with this, and let me bring my face back. So one of two things that people now do is people either go completely black or white, and I see a new kind of thing that's happening is where people just drop the color so that there's still a little bit of color, but it's very close to black and white. So they play with the saturation. Let me show you how that works. I personally prefer to just go all black and white, but see, if I touch the saturation here and I bring it down, see, something like that. So it's so almost black and white, but there's a little bit of color versus the complete black and white. So that's what a lot of people tend to do. But I'm going to keep that in the middle, so I'm going to double click there. I don't want to do the saturation. What I'm going to do is go back to my global editing tools, and I am actually going to change it to black and white here. I want to lift the exposure just a touch so that it's a bit lighter. And again, or maybe that's too much, hold on. Something like that. Bring up the white slightly. Blacks, but again, I want to be very subtle with this because I don't want to make it too dark. Okay, something like that. And then this is something that really excites me, is that, see that all these colors here, they are still in this image, you know, like, just because we made it black and white doesn't mean that they're not there. And somewhere you can actually check is if you click on this little thing at the top left here, and you hover over the giraffe, and you look here, that'll actually illuminate, so it'll become like a brighter white, to see what color it's representing. So see, there the orange is now illuminated, so this will, if I change that orange slider, this will be affected. It looks like mostly orange. Oh, there was a bit of yellow here. See, there's yellow there. So those are the two ones I want to focus on. I want to maybe play a bit with the orange and with the yellow. So let me move the orange. Oh, see, it's making it a lot brighter without affecting any of the quality. That's just a color, playing with color. And now the yellow. Yeah, don't want to go too much, but I actually like that it's a bit, kind of like it like that. Because there was a natural shadow the day that I took this photo, I actually want to just bring the shadows back a slight touch. very subtly. Something like that. Alright, and then what I also want to do now is just make sure that the edges of the subject is sharp. So I'm going to go onto the detail tool, and the first thing I'm going to do is go to the masking slider, and I'm going to hold in Option and slide this a bit further to the right, somewhere there, so that I can only do the edges of the giraffe. That's good. And I don't like to work with a massively high sharpness, so somewhere between 60 and 80 normally is good for me. Let's do like a 65 in this scenario. Alright, so yeah, I think this is a pretty good edit at this stage. From what we had originally to this, I feel it's pretty good. So yeah, I think what I wanted to try and show you is how you can take a photo that was pretty average to start off with, to get it to somewhere where we just did this. Again, let me show you what it looked like originally. We changed quite a lot of stuff. Where was it now? Yeah. So that's basically what the photo looked like. Let me click there for you, and then you can see. So that's what it looked like. And not much happening in this image, and got it all the way to this. Oopsie, there we go. So yeah, again, I'm not saying that this is now an image that you could use for anything, but at least the potential is there to do something with it. I hope that this video helped you to see that you can actually use Lightroom as an effective editing tool to even high key images. Like, I missed the opportunity out in the field, but luckily there was enough detail in the giraffe's face that I could actually then make this a high key image in post-production. So yeah, follow along, and I'm sure in the near future I'll share some more editing tips and tools. And yeah, if you've got any questions or inquiries, please get hold of us, or hold of me personally with my email address being donovan@wild-i.com, or my Instagram handle donovancross with 4 S's at the end. Yeah, so that is me, and I hope you learned something. Thank you so much for watching along. Bye.